Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. I hope you guys are doing okay. So for the longest time, the three fighting games considered to be the kings of the fighting game community have been Street Fighter, Tekken and Mortal Kombat. But have we been unfair to other games that have had communities showing up to support their smaller games for a long time now? In my opinion, I think we have. I don't think sales should determine who the big three are within the world of fighting games, specifically with the fighting game community. I think it should be down to tournament entrants and the consistency in which the players show up for their games. If we based it on sales, completely on sales, we'd have to acknowledge that Smash Brothers is one of the big three. But we don't, because we know that Smash Bros is a party fighting game, and whilst there is respect for what the scene has done for the game, despite all of the problems that the scene has faced outside of the game, you would not say that Smash Bros is in the same light as a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. It's not a conventional or traditional tournament fighting game by any sense of the imagination. If we went by sales, the big three would actually be Mortal Kombat as number 1, Super Smash Bros as number 2, and narrowly beating out Tekken for the third spot would be the Dragon Ball fighting games. The Dragon Ball fighting games have reportedly sold roughly 57.8 million copies against Tekken's 57 million copies. Now that might have changed slightly since Tekken 8 has come out, but I also don't know how much of Dragon Ball FighterZ they factored into that, and we soon have Sparking Zero. So we're going to say for now Dragon Ball fighting games have beaten out Tekken. And then in 5th place would be Street Fighter with 54 million copies. Now obviously we know that Street Fighter is the king of the fighting game world despite the sales. I don't think anybody would really dispute that. I don't think anybody would dispute that Tekken is not only the king of the 3D fighting games, but a worthy rival to Street Fighter's top spot. And at times, Tekken has taken the top spot from Street Fighter for substantial amounts of time. But who does the third spot truly belong to? Looking at the sales and considering it's seen as a traditional fighting game or one of the OGs, you'd think it would be Mortal Kombat. But if we're talking about its presence within the FGC, I think there's another title that should be acknowledged as the third king of the fighting games, and that game is none other than Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear.
I acknowledge you.
For the last 3 to 4 years, Guilty Gear has not only consistently outperformed Mortal Kombat with tournament entries, but it has sometimes even beaten out Tekken and Street Fighter, which is extremely impressive considering Street Fighter and Tekken always outsell Guilty Gear by gigantic margins. If you're scratching your head, don't worry, I've got some numbers here to show you from Evo, Combo Breaker and one tournament for CEO, so you can get an idea of where I'm coming from. Whenever Evo numbers get released, it's always a big talking point and a good way to measure the success or staying power of a fighting game within the tournament scenes and how it's going to be moving into the future. Everybody wants to go to Evo and be able to say that you're an Evo world champion, and that's why there are over 10,000 unique entrants at this year's Evo. It's a very big deal, and even though we have pro circuits for a lot of these big games, Evo is still seen as the WrestleMania of fighting game tournaments. And this year Guilty Gear's community showed up for their game despite only having roughly 3 million sales, which is a fraction of its more widely known competitors. It sits in a comfortable 3rd spot for EVO 2024. But one tournament is not enough to claim that you're a member of the big three. Not in my opinion anyway. Let's look at EVO 2023. 2nd place, beating out Tekken 7 by almost 1,000 entrants. That is insane. But then you might be saying, are 2 strong showings at EVO good enough? Well, if you don't think so, let's take a look at EVO 2022. Guilty Gear is number 1, beating out Street Fighter 5 by over 700 entrants and Tekken 7 by almost 1,000. Again, Street Fighter and Tekken within the fighting game community are seen as the juggernaut fighting games, almost undisputed for number 1 and 2, and Guilty Gear has had them beat. Even EVO 2021 collectively, with both EVO Japan and EVO Vegas, Guilty Gear is the overwhelming favorite with more entrants than Tekken and Street Fighter combined. If that is not a respectable feat, I don't know what is. If we take a look at Combo Breaker's numbers for 2024, we can see that Guilty Gear is the 3rd highest game, placing behind Tekken and Street Fighter. Combo Breaker 2023 shows that Guilty Gear came in at the top spot with 1,061 entrants, and then in 2022 for Combo Breaker with an identical number in 1st place again is Guilty Gear. Now I don't know if that's completely accurate and if it actually got the same number in both years, But either way, that is very impressive and another very strong showing from Guilty Gear. Also, shoutouts to KOF in second spot there. I really hope the SNK games find their way back. But anyway, we'll talk about KOF another time. If we look at just one more tournament, you can kind of get an idea for where I'm going with this. But let's take a look at CEO 2024, which Guilty Gear Strive came in at 3rd place with 299 entrants, once again behind Street Fighter and Tekken. There are a ton of other tournaments which you can look at and you can go into detail on a website called Liquidpedia, and there's loads of other websites that cover these things as well as numbers that are posted on Twitter. If you go and look at these tournaments, they follow the same pattern, and they have done for the last 3 years now. Guilty Gear Strive has consistently performed well, and even sometimes beating out Tekken and Street Fighter. It has consistently outperformed games much bigger than itself across multiple tournaments, and that is again with only a fraction of those games' sales. I think it's time, personally speaking, that we acknowledge Guilty Gear as one of the big 3 in the fighting game community. It feels weird to say that because we've always seen Mortal Kombat that way, but the numbers don't lie. It's definitely deserving of that spot, and admittedly, whilst I did buy the game on release and I have messed about on it a little bit, I used that character that is like I think he's like a black vampire or black samurai or something like that. He like consumes blood, but then you gotta be careful of his meter because he'll go into like some fatigued state. I'm not too sure, but he seemed very, very cool. I really like the design. I haven't actually paid much attention to Guilty Gear outside of that, but seeing as this game has consistently got a strong scene, I think it is high time that I start paying this game a little bit of attention. So I am going to be tuning into EVO and seeing what all the hype is about at the highest level. Now, it's not like this is my first Guilty Gear. I believe I played one called Accent Core, and I've played a couple of others here and there. I think there was one called Exard. So I've always dabbled in Guilty Gear, but I've never paid it that much attention or taken it seriously. But you gotta respect these numbers, and you gotta respect the scene for showing up for their game. Anyways guys, I just wanted to make this video as I saw a lot of you speaking about Guilty Gear in my comment section, so I thought I'd look into it, and you guys were completely right. At least in the FGC world, this is one of our biggest and most consistent games, and it deserves its flowers, and I think its community also deserves their praise for supporting their game, even though it hasn't sold anywhere near as much as Tekken, Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. So in closing, I wanted to say to the Guilty Gear community and the Guilty Gear franchise that I, at least myself, can't speak for anybody else, but I acknowledge you as one of the big 3. Now tomorrow, or at some point over the weekend, we are going to announce the winner of the Sparking Zero copy following the competition that we're going to be doing a video on. The video, for those of you who don't know, is going to be 10 reasons why Mortal Kombat 1 is good, or 10 things that are good about Mortal Kombat 1. And I've got a panel of judges that are going to help me figure out who has got the most reasons right. Now, we don't anticipate anybody getting 10 reasons, but if you can get close to 10, then you will be the winner. If there are multiple people with the same amount of points, then we're going to enter you into a random generator, and the winner will get picked out of that, and then we will purchase you, or I will purchase you, a copy of Sparking Zero, and I will send it to your address. If you want a physical copy, then we'll get you a physical one. If you want a digital copy, then we'll do it that way. But we will be announcing the winner in that video, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a bit of light-hearted fun. I won't announce who the judges are yet, but obviously you'll see them in the video. Anyways guys, I hope you have a good day. Take care of yourselves, and peace.